Hello, buddies, and welcome once again, fellow Franco fans of Uncle Jess. I am your host, Jason Rudy from Desperate Visions Productions, from Sacramento, California, film company. In 2021, I will be starting the company back up again after a 2-3 year hiatus, and we'll be producing at least one film. Hopefully more, but, we'll see how it goes. Probably about the second half of the year, I'm thinking, getting everything, I got all my scripts going now, and by the time everybody gets the COVID shots and gets the second dose, and people will be ready to go. And so I'm thinking maybe summertime would be a good base to start filming again, if not sooner, maybe spring. So yeah, that's down the pipeline, and we'll see how that goes. But right now, we're here to worship the mighty Jess Franco, and this is episode 18, where we deal with the great film Faceless. It was made in 87 and released in 88. This is episode 18, and Faceless was film 157. This week we have a Zoom episode from Los Angeles, California. We had a little bit of technical difficulties with the internet with had a lot of people on, and I don't know, it was kind of a bad connection, so we had some dropouts, but with the magic of editing, I'm going to fix that right up. As I record this, I haven't edited yet, so I'm going to do some patchwork on that, and it'll be good. We got a lot of good stuff done, and, we're both professionals, so... Speaking of professionals, that's why I had to Zoom, is because we have second-time returning guests, the talented and lovely Amber Kloss from Los Angeles, California, motion picture, television actress, theater actress, originally from Sacramento, California, and she's down there and doing good stuff, and I've talked her into now doing 2 episodes with me, and she's... knocked it out of the park both times, so I thank her for doing that. She's a big film fan and likes all the cool stuff, and has a lot of cool friends, and which will be another guest coming up that I have on a future episode that we'll be doing, and you'll see that coming up soon. That's going to be one that's going to do the other side of the mirror for that one. So back to this. This is episode 18 again, film 157, Faceless. Let's see, English language video DVD title is Faceless, France. It's a French production, 1987. The original theatrical title in the country of origin is Les Prédateurs de la Nuit. I guess would be the Predators of Night. Or, alternative title, Les Depredadores de la Noche, Spanish titles. The Desperados of the Night. Let's see. That's an interesting title. Sem Face, the Portuguese DVD title. And then there was a Greek one without a face. Dihos Prosopo. Dihos Prosopo, without a face, Greek title. Italian title, I Volontari della Notte. Production company, René Chateau Productions out of Paris. Theatrical distributor was Editions René Chateau of Paris. Timeline on this, shooting date, December of 87 to January of 88. They basically turned around and released it in June in France of 88. So like 5 months later. That's pretty good. There's no Spanish, British, or American theatrical release on this, just the French theatrical release. The theatrical running time on this is 97 minutes. Wow, that's cool. It just shot for the French market. DVD running time converted is 102 minutes, 36 seconds. Okay, director on this is Jess Franco, producer René Chateau, story René Chateau, writing as Fred Castle, Adaptation, Pierre Ripart, René Chateau as Fred Castle, Jean Marizin, Michael Lebrun. Music, Romano Musumara. And then we have the songs Faceless by Romano Musumara and C. Weissman, performed by Vicente Thomas. Just Imagination by Romano Musara, Martino, and Weissman, with kind permission. There's a song In the Heart of the City by the same writers. And cinematography is Maurice Filus. Second unit is Jean-Jacques Bauhau. Editor is Christine Pensau. Let's see. Special effects, Jacques Gastineau. Okay. He has quite a fit. Yeah, there's like 9 set pieces for him, so he was quite busy. So, the cast on this, of course, Helmut Berger is Dr. Frank Flamend. Bridget Leahy, the beautiful Bridget Leahy, one of my favorite cult actresses, veteran of a few Jean Rollin films and a few Jess Franco films. She did, was it Burning Up Inside or Burning Up All Over? It's got couple different titles. She did that one first for Jess Franco, and then Dark Mission, and then this. So yeah, she did 3. Chris Mitchum, of course, as Sam Morgan. Telly Savalas, the great Telly Savalas, as Terry Holland. Stephanie Adra as Madame Sheridan. Christopher Jean as Ingrid Flamand. Anton Differing as Dr. Karl Hans Moser. Carolyn Monroe as Barbara Holland. Howard Vernon as the mighty Professor E. Orloff. Tilda Thanner as Madame Francois. Florine Guerin as Florence Guerin. Gerard Zockberg as Gordon. Henry Polier as Commissioner Legree. Laurie Shebedin as receptionist. Emile Chevalier as Melissa. Marcel Philippot as Maxence. Tony Awak as Dudu. Monet Delmons as Baroness. Dora Thomas as a singer. Danielle Beretta as the man from Buda Budonak. Antoine Lorette as Karen. Isabella Chokert. Let's see, who else we got on this? Alan Bart, Theory, and Daniel Grimm as Inspector Wallace. So yeah, this has quite a bit of cast for Jess Franco film too. Let's see. So yeah, on this we give the rundown. When I talked to Amber about that, it's quite a lengthy synopsis of the film. Gave you the release dates, the different titles. DVD, Blu-ray release. I watched this on the Shriek Show DVD that was put out here in America. It's got a... let's see, let me look at it here. Yeah, this is the Faceless DVD. Shriek Show put out in 2003. It's got audio commentary with director Jess Franco and star Lena Romay. Interviews with Jess Franco, Lena Romay, Chris Mitchum, and Carolyn Monroe. Original theatrical trailer and photo gallery. I watched the interview with Jess Franco on this, and it's good. It's like about a 15-minute thing, I think. But yeah, I haven't watched Lena yet, or Mitchum, or Monroe, and I haven't listened to the commentary, but I'm definitely going to do that very soon. But yeah, it's definitely good. But yeah, it's funny, this came out on DVD in 2003, so say 2004, so like 17 years. You would think that something with Helmut Berger, Bridget Leahy, Telly Savalas, Jess Franco, Chris Mitchum, all those, that it would be at least on another DVD release, or especially Blu-ray, with all the stuff that's being put out on Blu-ray, that this hasn't came out. But yeah, there's definitely a fan base for this. It's a good 80s gore film. Even if you didn't know who Jess Franco was and watched this as an 80s gore movie, it's definitely up there with, all the set pieces and everything, and all the films that it doesn't steal from, but that, that he uses set pieces from that you recognize. So yeah, on this, let's see. Some things is like reading again from Flowers of Perversion, Volume 2 by Stephen Thrower. As the opening logo appears for French producer René Chateau to the strains of Richard Strauss's Thus Spoke Zarathustra, one can't help but smile. Talk about your big build-up. Faceless, or Les Prédateurs de la Nuit, to use a more dignified title, is just Franco's most expensive horror film since Jack the Ripper in 1976, and his starest cast since The Bloody Judge in 1969. That we cut from Richard Strauss to the George Michael-esque crooning of Faceless performed by Vincenzo Toma provides the first of many laughs, some, it must be said, completely unintentional. Faceless is not a comedy per se, but if Patsy from Absolutely Fabulous ever directed a horror film, it would probably look like this. It's a glossy, nasty, sardonic update of the awful Dr. Orloff, transplanting this story into a glitzy world of upscale Parisian nightclubs, coke-addled high couture, and expensive cosmetic surgery clinics. The result is a cartoon collision between Orloff, Mario Bava's Blood and Black Lace, and Robert Altman's Pret-a-Porter, with added surgery and chainsaw murders. That sounds irresistible, and why wouldn't it? Be assured that Franco delivers all the amusements that Be assured that Franco delivers all the amusement the comparison suggests. For only the third time in his career, after Jack the Ripper and the Bloody Moon, he employs genuinely gruesome special effects. Faceless was made at the height of the pre-CGI prosthetics boom, and Franco doesn't disappoint, delivering a chainsaw, beheading, take that pieces, a hypodermic needle to the eye, in your face dead and buried, a power drill through the cranium, up yours driller killer, a maggot-infested severed head, move over macabre, and the removal of an entire face, which then displayed to the horrified donor. Don't slam the door on the way out, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. There's even a neat scissors through the throat scene reminiscent of Bloody Moon. And if a man can't plagiarize himself, what's the world coming to? And if this wasn't enough to be getting on with, Faceless peppers the mayhem with a delicious script that veers between the unintentional camp and the knowingly outrageous. With rich sleazeball Dr. Flanard tells a young woman upon whom he once performed plastic surgery that she's blossomed. She lavishly strokes his crotch and says, "By the looks of things, you're blossoming too." There's something deliriously garish and very funny about this slinky sexuality in Faceless. It's like a parody of those oafish, serious, erotic dramas Zelma King was cranking out in the late 1980s. Franco taps into this tacky, superficial crassness of 80s pop culture in a film that's half indulgence of the tackiness and half ironic corruption of it. Amid the self-obsessed high society ninnies around him, Flamand has no difficulty hiding his wickedness. His clinic is full of elderly women desperate to restore the appearance of youth, all quietly aflutter with the unctuous miracle worker strolls their way. Let's see. Once again, Franco is telling the story of a man trying to restore the beauty of a disfigured woman, in this case his sister, but despite the déjà vu, there are plenty of changes to hold our attention. A significant advance on the previous versions of the Orloff story is that the recipient of the grafts is a conscious, willing participant with no qualms about the systematic destruction of her donors. Instead of just another catatonic innocent being fussed over by a psychotic loved one, we have a story not only of obsessive fascist love, but obsessive fascist vanity. It's one thing for a woman who's had acid thrown in her face to be angry and bitter and inclined to abuse her attractive sex partners in S&M grudge fits. It's another thing for her to gladly accept faces peeled from innocent victims in place of her own. Ingrid, like her brother, and his decadent lover, Nathalie, has the blithe sense of entitlement that comes with permanent wealth. So far as she's concerned, it's too bad for those mutilated hookers and models who cheapen their gifts of beauty anyway. Better it belongs to a woman of culture and sophistication. Yeah, almost like culture vampires, like these rich people feast on the less wealthy, like a class structure, which is really interesting because that's a good commentary on society and on rich and poor and people that have and have not. So yeah, the big part of this movie is, of course, the Professor Orloff scene. It's short. It's like only about 5 minutes. And you have Howard Vernon and Lena Romay as Professor Orloff's wife. And it was a cool thing to have him in it as the last appearance of Dr. Orloff. And he has a really, really good, nice scene with that. And he goes into his history, and you find out that Dr. Orloff now worked in Dachau with the SS, which adds another layer to the character, one that modernizes him far more effectively than the 1973's Eyes of Dr. Orloff or 1982's Sinister Dr. Orloff. Let's see. And we also have the first film in which Franco explicitly refers to Nazi Germany. We've had Latin American fascists many times before, which makes sense, of course, from a director who's lived under General Franco's regime. So yeah, those two. Then of course Anton Diffring comes in and steals the show. Let's see, what else do we have? So I'm going to cut to that. So cast and crew. Faceless features one of the starriest cast of Franco's career. He says that a few times. Sadly, Anton Diffring's memorable performance as Maurer was almost his last. He died aged 70 on the 20th May of 1989, having followed Faceless with 2 more parts, a role in the Doctor Who serial, Silver Nemesis, filmed in June and July of 1988, and another in Frank Stryker's film adaptation of a romantic TV series, Anna, shot between August and October 1988. Apparently the role of Dr. Orloff, just a short scene in the finished film, was something Franco desperately wanted to expand, intending to make his venerable old monster the unlikely savior of the female lead. Renee Chateau didn't agree, and what could have been a fond farewell to his signature character remains just a brief but poignant wave of the hand. Telly Savalas, whose previous work in the horror genre included Mario Bava's sublime Lisa and the Devil and Eugenio Martin's loopy but exciting Horror Express back in 1972, may have little to do except yell at Chris Mitchum and deliver some telephone acting, but it's a pleasure to see him again. Amen. And yeah, he doesn't say who loves you, baby. He says ciao at the end of a phone call. I was waiting for him to say who loves you, baby, but he doesn't say that. So it's just personal letdown. Let's see. Helmut Berger, Visconti's favorite actor and no stranger to kinky horror, as in Dorian Gray and Tito Brassa's Salon Kitty, brings Franco the benefit of his expertise, ably fleshing out the blandly wicked and humorous Dr. Flamand. Stephanie Adron, BAFTA award-winning star of Le Boucher and Babette's Feast, brings neurotic edginess to her brief but memorable role as Miss Sherman, the patient whose paranoid suspicions result in the aforementioned ocular trauma. I must say, Flamand would make a lousy poker player, but he all but admits there's something dodgy going on as soon as Miss Sherman starts insinuating. Meanwhile, on the B-list, there's the ever-dependable Carol Monroe, notching up another gore film after her appearances in Maniac and Slaughter High, while Chris Mitchum and Bridget Leahy are held over from Dark Mission. Mitchum is as awkward and unconvincing as ever, but Leahy is mostly excellent. I especially enjoyed her taunting Morgan when she locks him in with Barbara. Yeah, there's a cool scene where she locks him at the end and her face just keeps staying in the little square, smiling at him, and he keeps yelling, and she just like stands there and like taunts him, and she just like looks at him for like a little bit long, and they hold that shot a little too long, and she's just looking at him like, fuck you. It's a really, really good scene. That's really good acting in her part. She plays it really well. Let's see. I especially enjoyed her taunting Morgan when she locks in with Barbara. Elsewhere, though, she's perhaps a little too broad. The way she nods and smiles as Orloff gives the lowdown on Moser, it's as if he's discussing arrangements for a garden arrangement, not the credentials of a Nazi butcher. However, when it's arguably overplayed, we're intended to read it as a sign of her total immorality, as borne out later when she flirts with Moser before the second operation. You're amazing, doctor, and so different, she coos. Like, wow, it's not every day a girl gets to watch a doghouse surgeon at work. Music. With songs by Romano Musumara, sung by Italian crooner Vincenzo Tama. The music in Faceless has the phony dustings of wealth, class, and style, which artists like Duran Duran and ABC counterfeited from earlier genuine article stars like Brian Ferry and David Bowie. The title number, all together now, Destination Nowhere, half a mile to paradise. Sounds like a rejected backing track from Brian Ferry's Boys and Girls album, with a George Michael wannabe wailing over the top. By the way, to steal the comparison, Vincenzo Tama's 2011 album Romantico features an Italian-language cover of Careless Whisper. So nice. Location, Paris. Connections. Bogart, Magritte, and Clouseau are referenced in dialogue that self-consciously note the cliches of the story's detective subplot. Other versions. Although there are no true variants of Faceless, Predators of the Night is essentially the same cut. I'd just like to take some time to complain about the awful export title. Calling your movie Faceless is just begging for critics to snicker about one-word reviews or films that review themselves. What was Rene Chateau thinking? Wouldn't the Face Stealers have struck a better note? Surely Your Face or Mine strikes the right balance between surgery and sex. How about Why the Wrong Face? Anything but faceless. Yeah, how about like Face Off? You know, shit. Oops, no. Yeah, so... but yeah, so actually that'd be kind of cool to do like this and do it like a blending of this into Face Off. Anyway, so yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a cool film. This was actually, I mean, I saw it a long time ago, like with a group of friends and stuff, but didn't really pay attention as much. But yeah, this is like my first time watching it all the way through. I really like it. That damn song stuck in my head for like days, and it's still in my head. Like, let's see. It's like 4 days now. I've and this fucking song's still in my head. So yeah, once you watch it, and the trailer, actually, Faceless is on YouTube too. You can find a copy to watch on YouTube for free. And the trailer's really funny because the trailer has like a lot of violence and it shows a lot of the kills and stuff with the like George Michael-esque sounding song played over it, and it's like going to be one of my favorite trailers because it's just so stupid because the music and what you see, it just does not fit, and I just love it so much. But yeah, so you can see the trailer and the Faceless on Facebook. Oh, sorry, not Facebook, on YouTube. It's getting late. It's the end of the long work day. So yeah, I work, 9 hours, and then do all the stuff at home. I have chickens. I feed my chickens and take care of my hens, and then try to sneak in one of these introductions here. And then get on my editing, go to bed, go to work, all that good stuff. So anyway, but yeah, so Faces was awesome. I really liked it. I recommend it. Watch it on YouTube, or of course get the DVD and cross our fingers that a Blu-ray is released. Well, it seems like when I talk about things, they happen. So you heard it here first. If I talk about Faceless, it'll be on Blu-ray before the end of 2021. Let's make it happen. Because, dude, seriously, it's like Helmut Berger, Bridget Leahy, Telly Savalas, Jess Franco, Carolyn Monroe, and they can just port over the commentary track with Jess Franco. He's passed away. You got a cool extra thing here. Lita Romay, same thing. You have the photo gallery and interviews. Dude, put this on Blu-ray. Come on, man. Dude, put it on Blu-ray. We need it. So yeah, that's one of my mission statements too, man, is to get this on Blu-ray. Praise and memory of Jess Franco, bringing the name and films of Jess Franco to new eyes and ears. And I think I'm doing that with this podcast. I definitely know I am. Please download the episode. It increases our numbers. In listening to it's great. Downloading it's even better. Even better than that is to rate and share on your Amazon, on Apple Music or iTunes, all that stuff. Spotify, if you can rate on that, I'm not sure. But yeah, if you can always, subscribe, of course, and is even better. So yeah, subscribe, download, tell friends, tell everybody you know about Franco, tell everybody you know about this podcast, and let's let people in on this cool secret. You can get a hold of us at francoobserver@yahoo.com, FrancoObserver@yahoo.com. Yeah, you can find us on Facebook. We have our own Facebook page. Instagram, you can always find us on Instagram. At us. I'm always putting new pictures of all the DVDs I buy. My collection's really good. I'm only missing maybe 10 films of his, if that. And there, some of the porno stuff and stuff I really don't care about as much. But yeah, I'm pretty damn complete on that. And then, of course, just keep buying upgrades and different stuff like that. Yeah, you see all the T-shirts and all the cool stuff I buy. So check it out. Add the pages. Add us, all that good stuff. Hope everyone's doing well. And after this, you'll hear bumper music. You'll hear the trailer. And then you'll hear the bumper music again. And then you'll hear the review for Faceless. So, yeah. Thank you all. And have a good day.
Upside down.
This is your last chance, Doctor.
She's very dangerous.
Get off me! You're an animal!
In Saint-Tropez, soon the price of freedom will fall.
He was afraid to operate on living flesh.
Living flesh?
Hello, everybody, and welcome again to the Franco Observer podcast. I am your host, coming to you from the universe beyond, Jason Rudy from Desperate Visions Productions. And this is episode 18. We review the film Faceless from 1988, film 157 from Jess Franco. And I'm joined today once again, second appearance by theater, film, and television actress, originally from Sacramento, California, Now been living in Los Angeles, California for 15 years. Let's welcome Miss Amber Kloss.
Oh, hi there. It's good to be back. Thanks for having me.
There it is. Good. Well, yeah, let me just say right off the top, it looks like we're having a little bit of technical difficulties, but things are recording, so I'll just do a little bit of editing and post. So, you know, but you know, I noticed like it's on this episode, I think we're on a destination nowhere, about a half mile from paradise. That must be why the internet's messing up. So this week we watched the film Faceless. It was made in 1987 and came out in 1988. It was filmed December 87 to January 88, which is good timing because that's when we watched it here, January, and it had a nice Christmas kind of setting in the beginning and the nice lights when they were going through town and that. So that was a really nice touch. And it ended on like a New Year's toast, which I fucking kind of dug because it's like really good timing. I was like, wow, this is really cool. And it's like the evil people toasting at the end, you know. Spoiler alert, but you know, if you haven't seen it by now, come on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and give the synopsis for the film, and then I'm going to ask Amber what she thought of it, and then I'm going to give her my thoughts, and we'll go from there.
All right.
Looks like we're recording still, so all is good. All right, synopsis. Successful cosmetic surgeon Dr. Frank Flamend is Christmas shopping with his business partner Nathalie and sister Ingrid when a former patient, Miss Francois, throws acid at him in revenge for a botched operation. However, she misses Dr. Flamand and soaks Ingrid instead, causing horrendous burns to her entire face. Nathalie and Flamend decide to abduct and kill young women with a view to performing a face transplant. Nathalie selects Barbara Holland, a model to whom she sells coke, drugging her and locking her in a cell in the basement of the clinic. Barbara is still wearing the immensely valuable watch she'd been modeling moments before she was abducted. Nathalie keeps it for herself. A week later in New York City, Barbara's father, Terry Holland, hires a private detective, Sam Morgan, to go and find her. In search of advice about facial transplantation, Flamand and Nathalie visit the renowned surgeon, Professor Orloff. Now a Catholic, Orloff tells them the only person who can successfully do the operation is Karl Moser, a one-time Nazi doctor who relishes working on living tissue. Back at the clinic, Nathalie discovers that her mute manservant, Gordon, has raped Barbara. More importantly, he has damaged her face in the process. Gordon is punished by being sent for S&M correction with the hideously scarred Ingrid. Morgan interviews Barbara's fashion photographer, Maxence, and roughs him up for information. He discovers that Barbara was wearing the valuable watch when she disappeared. Maxence's bodyguard, Dudu, attacks Morgan and forces him to flee, but not before Morgan kicks him in the balls. Flamend kidnaps another woman, Melissa, to use instead of Barbara, but keeps Barbara chained up in the basement waiting for her turn. Moser arrives, eager to begin the operation, but the process goes wrong and he destroys Melissa's face. Gordon chainsaws her to pieces and dumps her in the Seine. At the nightclub, Flamend and Nathalie seduce actress Florence Guerin and bring her to the clinic. Nathalie has been using Barbara's credit card, from which Morgan traces her whereabouts to Flamend's clinic. While interrogating Flamend, Morgan spots Nathalie wearing the missing watch. Gordon kills a nurse at the clinic who stumbles upon the incarcerated woman in the basement. Later that evening, Moser successfully removes Florence's face and transplants it onto Ingrid. Morgan returns to the clinic and after fighting off and killing Gordon, locates Barbara, only for Nathalie to creep up and lock them both in the cell. With bodies piling up and snooping authorities closing in, Flamend, Nathalie, and Ingrid take Moser's advice and leave France, but not before they walled up the cells, burying Barbara and Morgan alive. Man, that's a big synopsis.
Right? And, oh my God, you worded it so... And when you worded that, I was just kind of laughing, going, oh my gosh, yep, and that too, and oh my gosh, believe it or not, that happens too.
Yeah, it's a total mix of a lot of
ride, you know?
Yeah, it's a total mix of a lot of films as you watch it. I'm sure you picked up all the influences. Oh, that's from that. This is from this. This is from this. So what did you think of the film, Amber?
Yeah, so I know we mentioned, it has a little bit of the December Christmas, a little bit of the New Year's, which is funny because the first time I watched it was just this past December because I was like, I'm going to add that to my, it's a Christmas movie, list.
That's true.
So, I watched it, and then I rewatched it last night just to refresh myself and make some more proper notes for tonight. I will say this. I liked it more the second time.
Okay.
Or maybe I appreciated it more the second time. My biggest takeaway when I watch it is the concept of the face transplant is just as ridiculous as every single one of the characters in it. Everybody is just so into that character, and each character is a little bit crazy, and I love that, But I really liked the movie a lot the second time. And it's funny because I've obviously not seen as much Franco as you, but from what I have seen, you just go, whoa, this is sort of a little unexpected in a way. But there's moments where you go, yes, I'm reminded it's a Franco film. But it's got some production. It's got some... Oh,
yeah, big time. He had probably, I don't know if this is his biggest budget, but at this time, I mean, this was a good budget for him. And like he said, I was watching that interview of him on the Shriek Show DVD, which is probably the same one that you guys have. It's the only one I think they put out. That face, it's dark where I'm sitting, but yeah, this Faceless one. And Franco talked about, he always said the more money he has, the more chances he has to be successful when making a movie. I was like, yeah, that's a cool philosophy to have instead of, money handicaps you or whatever. I mean, with him, he got the big stars and stuff, and definitely, just like you're saying, it definitely had way bigger budget, especially all the gore effects and everything,
Right. And I think the gore effects in it are fantastic.
Yeah. Totally 1987, 88, right in that time frame of what was really cool. And, I totally did a list of them that I figured we would talk about as we go through, but,
sure.
But totally, on that. Let's talk about some of the actors first off. This had, I don't know, I mean, like you were saying with the acting, each character was so different than each one. And Bridget Leahy, this was the third film he had done with her. She's really awesome. I like her a lot. She was a former X-rated adult actress and did a couple of Jean Rollin films. And then she did and she kind of quit pornography after about 3-4 years and started doing like mainstream foreign films and art films and stuff. She's in Henry and June, and she's in a couple other bit parts and stuff. But she's in Fascination, which is a film that I always recommend by Jean Rollin, and she's in Burning Up Inside by Jess Franco, and Dark Mission, which was made just before this with Chris Mitchum as well, Robert Mitchum's son. Robert Mitchum's son, Chris Mitchum, I like him, but in this one, there's a little too much wisecracking, and I know he's supposed to be this like wise ass detective, but it was like a little bit too much for my flavor. But I don't know.
It's so funny you say that because when you watch a movie, sometimes you kind of look, you're like, is it just me? Is it just me, or does anyone else feel the same way? But I mean, so Christopher Mitchum, yeah. The scene with him and Telly Savalas, it's like they're both acting in two totally different movies in that sort of office room.
Right.
Telly Savalas is being very Telly Savalas, and he's committed to the role, and he's studied, and he's using all his acting, and I'm sorry, but Christopher Mitchum, he's sort of bland.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, he's kind of like reading the lines, and then when he goes in against Telly Savalas, I'm just like, oh my gosh! It's almost like they shot both their scenes on separate days and then edited them together. It's such a contrast. Look, I love it, but it's hilarious. It's so funny,
Yeah, and it was cool, like me studying Telly Savalas for this because he has like 4 scenes in the movie, and they filmed them all in like probably one day,
Yes.
And but it's cool that like the one scene he like really turns up his acting when he's talking about his daughter being kidnapped and like how he loves her, and he like almost starts crying. He's like builds himself up. I was like, God damn, dude. He's like, okay, here's my one scene that you're paying me, and I'm gonna really have this fucking big performance, and yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Absolutely. Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, I thought the same thing too. I'm like, they're like, hey, we got Telly on this picture. Let's put his name on the poster art and his face, and we're really gonna, well, like you said, they probably had him for a day, and they did just all, because all his scenes were in that one office, if I remember.
Totally.
right? Okay.
Yeah, they're just spaced throughout the movie, but it's like, yeah, him at the one desk, and then he goes away for 2 weeks at the end for Christmas break, and then comes back, but he's still in that same office in that last shot. So they probably did maybe a half day or a day and just shot all the scenes, and that was it.
That's so funny. And then the actress that you just brought up that was the adult star, I read about that too, but I didn't realize that she's done more than one film.
Oh yeah. No, she's done quite a bit. Like for about 3 or 4 years, she did quite a bit of in Paris and in Great Britain, I believe, and Germany. I think those 3 markets.
But I was going to say, I think I was talking to someone about her, and they were like, "Yeah, she was kind of like the European Jenna Jameson, or like you said, But I thought she did a really good job in this movie, and I think good for her for making that transition. And it's funny because sometimes, not to stereotype, but the adult stars, when they make that transition and they want to do legit movie work, they kind of still get typecast as that over-the-top, sexy. She really carried herself very well, and she was very elegant and classy in this movie. Crazy, classy.
To me, she's almost like Uma Thurman kind of. I mean, she kind of resembles her appearance, and she's real strong, and she can play evil, she can play elegant, and she's strong, and she's definitely like kind of a cult icon, not like Tora Santana and that, but definitely in those realm of like Elsa and Tora and those kind of things. Because she's, like I said, she's in Fascination. I believe she's in Grapes of Death. She's in quite a few like cool horror films, and and she's definitely a good actress in that, and carries herself well. And like you're saying, she definitely has her own presence, and she's still doing like film stuff and doing her own radio show, talk show things and stuff over there. So that's really cool, But and then we had in the lead Helmut Berger, who is in A Dorian Gray and in Salon Kitty, I believe, and in The Damned, and he was a cool actor, and he's still alive as well. Plays the doctor in this.
Has he done anything recently, or? Yeah,
I looked him up on IMDb, and he has like 2 things still in completion that are like just wrapping up and stuff. So so he's still kicking, making films and that. So that's really, really cool.
Oh, great! Good.
And then reading different reviews, I think, and Stephen Thrower writes that Anton Diffring in this film as the other doctor, Dr. Maurer, is his name Dr. Maurer?
The evil German doctor, you mean? Or?
Yeah. Dr. Moser. In this guy's opinion, he thinks, or Stephen Thrower thinks that that's like one of the greatest performances in a Jess Franco film is like that guy as the doctor. And if you watch him, man, and this was like, he did 2 films after this, and then he died. So like this is like his 3rd to last film before he passed away. And he fucking gives a really good performance in this. He's evil. He carries it. I mean, he comes in and basically takes over when he comes in the room, and like, everybody steps aside. He's the man. Like they build him up, and he comes in, and the way he like the scene where he messes up the first face surgery, and he just like cuts that woman's face up real fast, and just hit the look on him. And he, and like reading through his career, he always played like Nazis in films and that. He's from Germany. His family fled Germany during the war. And then they came to Hollywood and stuff. So then, of course, he played Nazis, even though he didn't want to do that. But, but he had the real thin nose and thin face and had the real regal look to him and stuff. So he always played bad guys and played, military people and heads of corporations and this and that stuff. So
that's really interesting you say that, because you're absolutely right. It's funny because when we first meet him in the movie, it's like, oh, really? The evil German doctor.
Yeah.
But he really delivers with, like you said, he really commands the room in the scenes. He doesn't play that over the top kind of evil eye. It's very professional, and gentlemanly almost, and that makes it that much scarier almost. Like, it's like, wow, he's in there, and you almost kind of trust him that he knows what he's doing. And I love when he begins the surgery. He says something about, it's very much an honor for her to be the face transplant. She is helping advance science or something,
Yeah. And then, like, the first girl's skin, he says it's too thin, and he starts, like, cutting it up. And then you wonder if, like, he messed it up so he could, like, do it again, or if he's, like, really did mess it up just to mess it up, or if he really was thin-skinned, you know.
Oh, I didn't think of that. Interesting.
Yeah, because he talked about him having that obsession of just always wanting to work on live people, and he was they built him up as, like, this Dr. Frankenstein kind of guy where he's kicked out of this, and he had to flee, and this and that, and he was known for that, you know. But yeah, so, and it was cool looking up Bridget Leahy was born on October 12th, and Anton Diffring was born on October 20th, so they're both Libras like myself, so I thought that was kind of cool.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, it was fine. I was just having to look up their thing. So the film, it starts off with a Faceless theme song, and it's just called Faceless, and it's like a George Michael sound-alike on this guy.
Is that the proper... Wait, what was the proper name of the song in the movie? Is it Destination Unknown? Or?
No, it's just Faceless.
Oh, that's just the name of the song. Oh.
Yeah, because if you look at the end credits, it says, like, there's, like, a small box that says Faceless, and then it has 2 credits, and then it's got the guy's name on the bottom of it.
Oh, my goodness. And boy, oh boy, will that song stick in your head. But I love, like, the moments that they cue the song up is so funny. But my favorite moment they cue it up is when it's actually playing in the nightclub.
Yeah.
You know, actually use it to where our actors are hearing it, you know, in their scene. And I was like, oh, it's playing even in the club, you know.
Exactly. And it's funny, too, because that guy, like I was saying, sounded like George Michael. And then in 2011, he did a George Michael cover on one of his albums.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in the he did an Italian language cover of "Careless Whispers" on his album Romantico in 2011.
Oh, that is...
So yeah, so you know he totally had the George Michael thing, like he just pushed that like thing, you know, because you listen to it, like, you know, 87, 88, that was, I guess Wham had probably already broken up. I'm not sure, you know. I know George Michael, and then was around that time, 87, 88. Mm-hmm. So, you know, so it was, and it's funny too, like, reading that too, you know, if you listen to like Duran Duran, you know that it's like kind of like Roxy Music, you know, they kind of took their sound from, and it's like with this guy sound like George Michael, and it's like hitting the kind of orchestra and the kind of mood that the song put forward was kind of funny. It was like they're trying to rip off, you know, and automatically, I think with me at least, you start off with a laugh, you know, when you watch the film, and it's like, you know,
because don't they open the film with that song,
right?
And our lead young doctor is flanked by 2 ladies in the limo. I think is how it began. But you're right; it does start out with that song, as it should.
Yeah, and so it starts off too with a fountain. There's no body of water in this movie, but there's a fountain right in the very beginning, and they show the fountain. So I made a mental note of that in my notes. I was like, okay, there's a fountain, but there's. Unfortunately, there's no boat in this movie, so that's, yeah.
I forgot the Franco film checklist. We all have to remember these things, yeah.
Yeah, well, actually, here, I'm going to go over that right now as we're talking about it. I got it in front of me. So there's no body of water, but there's a fountain, so I'll say doesn't really count. But it starts off the first scene, so I guess, I don't know, partial point. No sailboat, no boat of any kind. There is dance scenes inside of a club. There's quite a few. They go to the club and they see everybody dancing, and they have girls half naked and naked dancing, so that counts. Palm trees. I don't really remember palm trees in this anywhere. Maybe in the road, the streets maybe, but I don't think so. In Paris, I don't think there's really palm trees. I'm not sure. No jungle sound effects in this. No sheepskin rug. No masturbation with a C item. No, there's a lot of weird stuff in here, but definitely not that. Red lights. Yes, there is red lights at the end. There's a scene where they use those. And a couple new things that I've added on my list since I've done the podcast with you. I have chained up women. There's always a chained up woman in a Jess Franco film, I've noticed. He always has women chained up from like Dr. Orloff all the way to the end, it seems like, in most of his films. And in this film, there's definitely chained up women in this film, so, or tied up at least. But yeah, so okay. So with my notes, let's see, it's like you said, it starts off with the three of them. They go shopping, and then they're confronted by a past patient who throws acid in their face, and that's our first gore effect of the film. Usually with the Franco film, there's always like nudity, like within the first like 2-3 minutes, and then with this film, it almost seemed like there was gore in place of the nudity. Like this feature, this did have a lot of nudity to it, but it seemed like the primary thing was showing the gore effects compared to the naked women. Like that was the primary object, I think, on this film, getting those across. And in this, you see the first effect, throws the acid in the woman's face as instead of the doctor, and then they show it in quite detail of her face burning and fizzing and all that. So we see that right off the bat. And yeah, so that's the first one on that. What did you think about that effect?
Oh, I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was a good kind of setup, but yeah, I thought it looked pretty legit.
Yeah. There's a lot of good practical effects on this. This is before CGI effects and all that stuff, so you see a lot of the cool, good layers and that and stuff. Okay, so then we see Kelly Monroe is in this, which is really cool to see her in because she had done Maniac and then had done Sinbad film and done a bunch of Hammer films and that, so it was cool to see her in here as the Telly Savalas' daughter, the fashion model. That's, one of the higher class fashion models. And, yeah, to have her in this was really cool. I mean, her part isn't that big. She's mostly just shows, she's being tortured or like chained or tied up mostly and begging and kind of being in a cell with most of the film. But she still does really good, I think.
Oh, I really liked her. She was one of the characters that I thought, boy, I really hope she makes it out. Because I really liked her,
Yeah, she's really cool. I actually met her at a Fangoria convention, like back in 2005, 2006, something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's really nice. I got a picture with her and all that good stuff.
Oh, she's just so stunning, just very striking.
Oh, yeah, very, very beautiful woman. So we see Brigitte gives her coke, and then they abduct her. And that scene actually surprised me. I didn't think the guy was in the back seat with the needle. That actually made me jump. I was like, "Oh shit!" That totally surprised me. I didn't see that coming, so that was cool. So yeah, and then you see that, and then there's a lot of cool fish tank shots. Franco uses that not all the time, but he uses that in a few of his films where he'll shoot through the fish tank to an object behind it. And that always gives a nice layered effect with filmmaking. I always think that looks cool,
Yeah, you're right. I forgot about that. Now you're saying that, I'm like, right, pretty cool.
Yeah, I think I don't know if there's a fish tank in Vampiros Lesbos, but I think Girl from Rio. There's a couple of films of his I've watched recently where they shoot through the fish tank on a couple, but definitely not all of them. But that's something that he does like to use. That's in his bag of tricks. Let's see. Okay. One cool thing that let's see what I got here. Okay. So yeah, one cool thing is that when you go inside the institute, you see all the monitors, and that reminded me of 1,000 Eyes of Dr. Mabuse, and where Dr. Mabuse has all the monitors and he watches people inside of the chambers and inside of all the rooms. And with this film, you have the doctors of the Eyes Without a Face, with the taking off of the skin. You had Dr. Orloff, which we'll talk about here in a minute, and all the other Mad Doctor things. So the Fritz Lang stuff and all the Dr. Mabuse and the creamy films and the Giallo stuff. So they threw a lot of the kitchen sink in this film. So there's a lot of cool touches to other films like that, And that's one thing I caught was the Dr. Mabuse monitors where he sits back and watches everything unfold from his production. But yeah, is there any notes you had that up until this point that maybe you'd like to throw in?
Yeah, because we were talking about some of the major characters. I guess one of the major minor characters who we don't even know his name, the sort of mute slave or whatever you want to call
Gordon.
him. Gordon, thank you.
Gordon.
I'm like, oh my gosh, what a weirdo, right? He's got the dark iron and slick back hair and
he has no eyebrows.
Right. Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, I couldn't tell. I'm like, there's something, I don't know what it was going on, but yeah, very, very strange. And I guess he's just the on-site, you call it guy, and he's got his weird room of horrors.
Yeah, that kind of looked like Hostel to me years later for some reason. I watched that scene, just the coloring of it. I was like, oh, that kind of Looks like something that a Hostel would do years later, that scene. Yeah, and he's kind of like Morpho, like who's the mute assistant in a lot of the Jess Franco films. In Vampiros Lesbos, she had Morpho as her assistant. And in a lot of Dr. Orloff, Dr. Orloff had Morpho and all that. And it's usually the mute, kind of disfigured assistant. Kind of like the cabinet of Dr. Caligari had, forgot the assistant's name in that, but that guy that always would go around, in the black turtleneck,
Oh, you're right. I see what you mean. Yeah. But yeah, I was gonna, if I may add a gag.
Please.
When we talk Gordon, yes. I love where I guess it's the secretary is kind of hunting around the grounds. What's going on? Oh my gosh! She walks into Gordon's room of horrors. And, is freaking out. And I love that when you open one of the cabinet doors, there's a head in there with worms all over it, and they're loud. I'm like, oh, because that's the sound that it makes. You know what I mean? We're gonna see it. And then she hides in the closet, and he does the whole driller killer bit, I guess.
Good call, yeah.
I think that's kind of a fun gag, even though we don't get to see a whole lot, but it's played really well. But when she dies, I'm just like, well, now who's going to answer the phone calls?
That's true. And that was her whole thing. She was probably like kept in the dark by the whole thing. And there was always that one door at the end of the hallway. And, that's like the good help. He like totally had her totally oblivious to everything. Probably gaslit her like we were talking about in the other episode. I'm sure she was gaslit. Oh, no, there's nothing going on beyond that door. You're crazy. That's just, that's just my office,
Right. Because I thought the whole time, I'm like, does she or anyone else really know what's going on? Like the one patient we meet early on that's like, I know what you guys are doing here, Yeah. And I'm like, anybody else know? Just a second. So I learned towards the end, I'm like, oh, she was truly unaware and horrified to find out. But yeah. Anyway, I thought Gordon was a ridiculous character.
Yeah, Gordon definitely is like the fucking hired hitman, does it all. So we go cut to a New York shot of the Twin Towers, which is kind of cool. That was a stock shot they had, and because I don't know if Telly Savalas' scenes were filmed in Paris, which I assume they were because there's a picture I seen on the extras of Telly Savalas, Bridget Leahy, and Chris Mitchum kind of posing together. And that might have been in the contract signing or what, but I imagine his scenes were filmed in Paris. I don't think it was filmed in New York, They might have just used that New York shot as just a establishing shot from something else and then just, as a pickup shot or they bought it or whatever. Anyway, so then we cut to Telly Savalas, who hires Chris Mitchum, plays Sam Morgan, and I have my notes like I mentioned before, too many wisecracks. And one thing I always like about Chris Mitchum, and now that he's older, he didn't do in this film as much, but he always does the Robert Mitchum look. If you see him in movies, he always kind of squints his eyes a little bit and looks slightly like he's looking over your shoulder. It's like if you have Chris Mitchum, especially now, like that's what you got to have him have it because you get that little bit of Robert Mitchum in your film, just that
that signature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's one thing he didn't really do in this. His whole gimmick was chewing the gum, and that was his like.
Oh, that was driving crazy.
Yeah, and he'd take it out. No smoking. Oh, I have a piece of gum. And then, and the other detective, he called Inspector Clouseau. He made fun of that guy, and he was the gum, and just kept.
Yeah, he did kind of deliver, like you said, the kind of womp kind of.
Yeah, but I don't know. That's just, it's kind of cheesy. So then we get to you talk about Gordon, the henchman, and one thing I liked about Brigitte character is like the little kink she had of like stealing things from the people that she did things to, and like that was her thing to fill that rush. She took the gold thing off her, and then the woman she hits with the syringe in the eyeball, she takes her necklace, the pearls, or whatever, and like she always has to steal that thing. And then when she got the credit card, which got him in trouble, she that was her kink of like stealing something to get that rush. So she was a kleptomaniac, I guess you'd call that she had
right.
That,
And it's interesting you say that because sometimes in movies they'll have that thing where someone took something and voila, we see them wearing it or having it on their person later on as a clue. But they really kind of set it up as like, this is what she does to everybody. It's not just there's one red herring. It's part of like her true character. You know?
Good call. Yeah, totally. Yeah, because that gold item does figure into the film, but like as you're saying, that's just part of her everyday thing, and that's one of the things she does to like keep her going, like her extra little drug. And then, so now going back, I kind of jumped over a few things. Another gore effect. Okay, so after the acid throw in the face, we have a woman's arms cut off. The woman in the padded cell. Bridget comes in to kind of like feed her or whatever. She reaches out to like strangle her, and then Gordon comes in with a hatchet and just cuts her arm straight off.
That's right.
Yeah, that was like a pretty brutal like effect. It's like, God damn, dude. And you see that, you know.
Again, like you said, it's one of the moments where you don't see it coming, and it's just like, we know she's gonna get it, but we don't know what. And it's like, holy shit, you chopped her arm off, you know?
Yeah, it's like a really like Jesus, you know, like a big jump thing. And then also too, after that, we have the needle in the eye of the patient, and they really go into loving like shot, probably more than Zombie did. I think like they really show that like 2 or 3 different angles of the needle going into the eye, above it, and a different shot of right to the eyeball and into it, and yeah.
I'm glad you said it was one of my notes, because it was like they really made sure everybody saw the work they did on that, and the room was well lit. But yeah, it even made me just kind of get a little queasy. It was just like, oh, geez. Pretty good, though. Pretty good gag.
Yeah, that was a good, like, there are always, like, certain ways of, like, especially with these films, like, the different varieties of kills, and always the, like, things to the eyeballs was always a staple, and there certain films would have that kill in there, and it's like, people would search out certain films for certain kills, like, oh, I want to see and, like, you know, Zombie back in the day, like, Zombie was always known for the zombie versus the shark and the wood going into the woman's eyeball. Like, those are the 2 big selling points that people always talked about, you know.
Like, if you buy a Zombie t-shirt, you can get it. That's like a signature.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Which is great, because, you know, like, that was probably cashing in on Jaws, like, in a sort of roundabout way, you know, a couple years later, right around there. So, which I'm always for Jaws ripoffs. That's, like, a beautiful thing. So, like, for me, my highlight of the film was to see Howard Vernon do one last appearance as Dr. Orloff in this. The scene where they go visit him to find out about Dr. Maurer, you see him. And unfortunately, like I'd written about, it's a beautiful scene, but it's too short. And when I was watching this, I kind of had a feeling of, like, Quentin Tarantino, where, like, this movie is like a Jess Franco universe. You have these characters from different films in this past, and now it's, like, years later, and they're kind of, like, in the universe. And you had Lena played Dr. Orloff's wife, and Dr. Orloff kind of gave up the surgery and the evilness because he went back to his Catholic upbringing and married the woman that he loved, and that kept him on the straight and narrow. So he wouldn't help them and do the surgery and that. And Lena Romaine's in this for just that short scene as his wife with the old age makeup, and she has her hair great in that. And the scene where him discussing Dr. Maurer and building him up and them visiting him was, I thought, a really cool scene, and that kind of wrapped up that character in the Jess Franco universe, you know. Right.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which is cool that these films have universes like that years later Marvel and other filmmakers did later on, you know. It's both these guys were doing it years ago, having a character across 20 or 30 years in different films show up, even if it's for 5 minutes or whatever. It just references all that, or even talking about the characters, you know, and like talking to them on the phone, even if you don't see them or whatever, but just keeping that continuity running is pretty cool, you know.
Of that alive, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that really doesn't get talked about a lot, but having its own universe like that, because he has that with a few characters, the influences he'll take from Dracula or from Orloff, and Orloff with 2 Fs or Orloff with 1 F. There's different Orloffs in the Franco universe, and there's a Dr. Mabuse. He uses Dr. Mabuse a few times as well, and so he uses other Inspector Seward from the Dracula, and so he'll use characters over and over again and kind of build his own universe, which is pretty cool, because then it's like you're watching a lot of stuff and it all connects in a roundabout way, sort of, you know, or at least sections of it connect. But yeah, so you had Anton Diffring, and he comes in, and my favorite part was when he was talking to Ingrid, and he goes, you must have confidence. It's the only way that we'll succeed. And he goes, I've always believed in myself, as he's like talking to her, and it shows that he's such a good bad guy, like a Darth Vader or something, where he's just like, I've always believed in myself. This is who I am, which is a good thing, but it's an egotistical strength thing too, where you're kind of like scared, like, oh shit, you kind of want to get out of his way, So I definitely thought he was really, really, really great in this part. Like I was saying before in the top of the film or top of the episode. And then also, so then we have, with him, we have a couple good gore scenes. We have the first face surgery where he has the mishap, and the woman's skin is too thin. You see it start breaking as he cuts it, and then he gets all nervous and just starts cutting away at the rest of her face, and her eyeballs are looking around, and then her head gets chainsawed off and kissed by Gordon after he chainsaws off her head of the corpse, which was pretty brutal. I thought that poor gal, and her eyes were moving too the whole time as she was like being chainsawed. So it was like, that was an extra little brutal part for me. I was like, Jesus,
I know, yeah. That was a pretty rough scene. I was like, oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah. So there's some definitely 80s gore effects in this, and then what's cool is then we have a scene later on where Ingrid is like really horny and she wants Brigitte to go out and like pick up a guy. And they pick up this guy, and they go back to the place, and she has this like full mask on her face, and he goes, "I want to see who I'm gonna fuck," and he's like a total jerk, fucking asshole guy. He pulls off the thing, sees her face, and then Brigitte takes scissors and stabs him right through the front of the throat all the way back, and that was in Bloody Moon that Franco did as well. So he used that effect before with the scissors going through the neck, which was a cool effect for that.
Okay,
that was like 3 years before this, and that's out from Severn too as well.
Oh, it is. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Severn puts out Bloody Moon on Blu-ray, and they have a good copy of that.
I'm glad you brought that up because it's a short scene, but it is memorable as soon as you bring it up. But I love that she has to go out on the prowl and look for I guess like a male prostitute or gigolo, whatever I don't know what they're called, but
gigolo. Yeah.
I two things I love. I love that when he comes back to the room, he looks like he's wearing like a well-starched baby blue button-up business.
Good call.
And I mean, hey, it's his own style, whatever. But I love that she stays in the room on the other side, and I'm sure she does that to just kind of make sure everything goes over smoothly, and she's
right.
Like, protecting her friend. But like in an instant, right? The second that she sees that he removed her mask, it's like unforgivable scissors, not a bit later. Like,
I thought that scene was going to go a little bit longer than it did. It's like kind of quick. He just like goes into her and like, takes the mask right off. I was like, wow, I thought he'd kiss her a little bit and they'd do a few things and then the mask would come off or something. Then he'd get killed or whatever,
Right. Like she got nothing out of it. Yeah, nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you said, it was so quick. It was like, oh, gee, well, I guess on to the next. So.
Yeah, she got more out of Gordon earlier when they had the S&M training for Gordon when he was punished, Yeah.
It's so good, yep. Oh, man.
And then the next gore effect we have after that, the seventh one of the film, we have actually 9 gore effects in this film. The seventh one was one you had mentioned earlier, the drill in the forehead with the lady in the locker. And that one you see a brief glimpse of it where it touches her forehead, and then you see from the outside of the locker where the blood runs underneath, which is a cool effect, the blood running out from under the door, that implies a lot without having to show either,
I agree. Yeah, it's a good little pay. You still get the payoff. And
yeah.
Sometimes, I mean, look, everyone loves to see firsthand every angle of those gore effects, but sometimes it can be just as effective and cool as maybe you don't show everything,
Yeah, and like we were saying, there's like 9 gore effects in here, so it's like, you don't have to show every single one all the way through. It's like, the ones that you don't show, it's just as memorable. People say it and talk about it, and that saves you a lot of money too. If you
Yeah.
That's one thing about watching these films. Like as a filmmaker, you can learn from all these, how he does it, and a lot. Like Telly Savalas, figure out how many days they had him, all the shots you need to film them with, how many hours, and the gore effects. You pot all out, and you can really learn a lot about filmmaking watching these films and studying them as well. It's always a nice tool,
Absolutely.
And then we have. The second the face transplant, the faceless victim sees the face removed. That was a really good effect, I thought.
Yeah.
They cut the whole face off, they hold it out, and then shows it to her. And so going back to the gore effects, one thing it was funny. I'd made notes I want to talk about. Okay, so we talk about the chainsaw beheading. It says, take that Pieces. So I guess in Pieces, there's a scene of a chainsaw beheading. I haven't seen Pieces for quite a few years.
I think so. I hadn't seen it in a while either, but I believe so.
Okay, and then we have a hypodermic needle to the eye, which is Dead and Buried, which I totally recognize that. Dead and Buried, you ever see that by Gary Sherman?
No, I haven't. No.
Yeah, there's a nurse that does the needle to the eye to the patient that's in the bed and they can't move, and then the needle goes into the person's eye and they kill them that way. That's a good, I think it's 81, 82, something like that, maybe 83. Yeah, Gary Sherman, Dead and Buried. It's out through Blue Underground, I believe.
Okay.
And then we have Power Drill Through the Cranium, Driller Killer, of course. Maggot-infested severed head from a...
That makes lots of noise.
Yeah, from a Macabre. Have you seen Macabre?
No.
Okay, so yeah, they had that. And then, of course, the removal of the entire face, which is then displayed to the horrified donor, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Yeah.
Okay.
Which I caught that when they, I think it was Chop Top did it, I think. But yeah, so it's cool. Like, there's always these homages to the other horror films as you watch this, like I was talking about with Dr. Maboose and Dr. Orloff, and this is a cool film because there's a lot of references to other classic horror stuff along the way as it's written, you know.
And I think what's cool about it is, like you said, there's so many references people pick up, but I feel like no two people will all pick up on the exact same, right? It'll
Totally.
be a viewing experience for everybody, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was cool, too. Like you were saying, the budget on this was really good. It was filmed in English, so the dubbing on it was really good. It seemed like a few parts the sync was off a little bit, but not too bad, you know.
Yes, right, yeah.
But yeah, and then I guess the gal that was in the wheelchair that was like saw everything, was trying to get him in trouble. She was a big actress as well. I didn't recognize her, but I looked her up, and I guess she's in Babette's Feast or something.
Oh.
So she's like a famous French actress, I guess, from the 70s. I'll have to look her up more and see some of the films she was in. But yeah, because if you look like on the poster and or even on the DVD box, her name is kind of highlighted like in a little box or something.
Oh, like it's a big, like they're touting it, yeah.
Yeah, actually not on the DVD, I'm sorry, but on the, like on the poster and that, yeah, her name, and they had made a big deal about her being over, you know, but with us, the American audience, you know, it doesn't mean as much, but yeah, so then in the end, they basically pull off the face transplant, and, well, Sam breaks in, and they kidnap him and lock him in the cell with, Telly Savalas' daughter, and they build the wall in front of him, kind of like Edgar Allan Poe, kind of build the wall in there on him. Was it Black Cat, and another one, or the Cask of Armadillo, one of those two. And they have build a wall in there. And also, too, they use that in something else I just watched recently. I forgot a movie that they had put somebody behind the thing and walled them in. But anyway, yeah, that's a common device, but. So, yeah, so they walled him in, and then you realize that he tells Telly Savalas that, you know, it's Christmas Eve, and he's going to go check out the place. You don't hear from him. He's sitting in the Marines.
Right.
And Telly Savalas checks a message, like, after the New Year. I think it was like the 3rd or the 4th by the time. Because they do the New Year's thing on New Year's, and then it's like a day or two later when Telly Savalas comes in and check. So, basically, they're in that cell for like 10 days or something, somewhere around there, from like the 24th to like the 3rd. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yes, about 12 days. So I don't know if they're alive or dead. So that's the thing. It's the ending. You don't know because you know Telly Savalas calls to rescue them, but you don't know if they're alive or dead or how it ends. It's kind of open-ended.
And, you know, it's interesting you say that, because on one hand I go, oh, I like that the bad guys kind of get away with it at the end. But then when I watched it a second time, I thought, well, now am I sure that they... For sure, because on one hand, it seems like they're toasting and the operation was successful. They had the evidence best they could. But then, like you said, at the end, we see Telly kind of saying, send in the Marines. And I'm like, oh, when I saw it the second time, I thought, wait, did they totally get away with it then? And then, yeah, the two survivors survived. You know?
Yeah, so you don't know. I mean, in the time frame, they could have easily gotten their cars and driven off somewhere and done something by the time they got there. Or, I mean, who knows? It's totally open-ended, which is kind of a cool way. Because I guess Franco had talked about, too, in the commentary or in the bonus thing, he had talked about they were going to make it a happy ending where Telly Savalas comes in and they kind of find his daughter and he hugs her and stuff. But Franco said, no, you should kind of do it this way instead and kind of make it where maybe it's not a happy ending. You don't know, until you talk about it, which is good. I think anything that you have to talk about like that with an ending with people is better than just something clean cut. I think it's, leaves more into interpretation.
Right. I think I really like the ending because, even after the second time, I go, well, what really did happen? Sure, anything could happen,
Yeah. And especially the times we're living in, too, where kind of like evil's kind of like triumphing in the end. It's kind of like, ooh, I kind of had a weird chill watching that, It's like,
right.
The rich, evil people win. You're like, God damn it.
Again,
yeah. But, I definitely really enjoyed this film. Definitely had that really cheesy song running through it. There's a lot of humor to it. Typical Franco nudity. There's way more gore in this film than any of his other films, I think, big time. It definitely turned out really well. No, I definitely liked it a lot. Is there any closing things that you'd like to say? Any notes that you didn't bring in?
One more note I wrote down, and I guess I'm going to try and loop it around the beginning note I had, how all the characters are just crazy. They do crazy things. They get away with crazy things. I love the scene where I think it was the first woman's face doesn't work out, and the doctor's like, well, I guess you need to go get another beautiful young woman with great skin. And they're like, let's just go to the club. It's what we do. And, and then they bring home the beautiful actress and whatnot. But I love that. I forget what she said. Yeah, let's go to a nightclub and find a beautiful girl,
Yeah, and they also made a joke about finding a virgin in Paris, too, when they were looking for the skin, which was funny,
Right. But, it's so much over the top, but still believable and a lot of fun.
Yeah, very, very serious performances. Everybody took it as... Like, even though it was a camp film, they didn't really take it in a camp way. It was very totally played for believability and till it was good.
Yep.
Well, cool. Well, I think this is going to wrap up episode 18 of the Franco Observer, film Faceless, film 157. I give it a thumbs up. What about you, Amber?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thumbs up.
For watching it a second time. Yeah.
Yeah, did you watch the Shriek Show DVD? Is that how you watched it?
I saw it on YouTube.
Oh, wow. Okay, good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. So, yeah, I have the Faceless, the Shriek Show DVD, which is about 20 years old. This came out in like 2004 this came out. So, yeah, 17 years.
So it's included on that DVD there you have.
Yeah, it's got the, which is cool, it's got audio commentary with Jess Franco and Lena Romay, interviews with Franco, Lena Romay, Chris Mitchum, Carolyn Monroe, trailer and photo gallery. But they're trying to get this put out again on Blu-ray and, upgraded and such. Because, yeah, like I said, it hasn't had a release since 2003, and it's definitely a high-budget film, and it should be on Blu-ray, definitely. And they could port over the existing commentaries, and it would be a good purchase. So
I think you're absolutely right, yeah.
Wanda Macabro has one Franco film they said they're going to release this year, but I don't know what it is yet, so we'll see what that is. I don't know.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, at the top of the year they said this is what we're releasing for 2021, and they said one Jess Franco film, but that's all they said, so we'll see what that is. But yeah, it'd be really cool if it was Faceless. But alrighty, is there anything you have coming up that you're looking forward to? Any projects, any shows, any events, anything? I know you're in LA and it's COVID time, but you got anything?
Well, I volunteer with American Cinema. We were supposed to be putting on the Sundance Film Festival with the Mission Tiki at the end of the month, but then at the last week they decided to cancel that just because the numbers have gotten so bad in LA. So a little bit of a bummer, but I respect their decision. So hopefully when things get better, we'll have some, I've been living off any drive-in screenings I can go to.
Yeah, I've been seeing, you were talking earlier before the interview about different merchandise and stuff I've been getting. I've been seeing all the cool movies you've been getting to see in LA down in the drive-ins. I'm very jealous of all the cool 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s movies and more that you've seen down there. It's been really cool.
Yeah, they've been giving me life. It's great because, I miss the theaters, but hey, I love that there's this kind of new revival of the drive-in, so I'm there for it.
What is the company? Is that what is that video? Or what?
Vineland. There's one called the Vineland Drive-In, and then a little further east is one called the Mission Tiki.
But is it like Cinema Video, or what's the company that's putting on these shows? Is it like a group or?
So the I see what you're asking. So the American Cinematheque, which is nonprofit theater group, we have the Egyptian in Hollywood, the Arrow in Santa Monica. They are doing some programming here and there at the Vineland Drive-In, sort of a collaboration,
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. I've been seeing all the cool zombie stuff and the cool giallos and all the different stuff you've been seeing and stuff. Yeah. And then I saw that Antonio Sabato died, and you'd watched one of his films. I just watched the Eurocrime documentary, and he is interviewed in that. And he was a very interesting man.
Right. Yeah. Now I want to watch more of his stuff with his I think legacy having been passed. But,
yeah. So rest in peace, Antonio Sabato. So, alrighty. Well, thank you very much again for joining me. I do appreciate it. And this is us signing off from the beautiful state of California. Adios.
Bye.